Hey, what's going on, guys? Gearbox recently reverted the change to Moze's Means of Destruction ability, which was supposed to nerf the infinite grenade build, but in reality just stopped you from firing your weapons as often. Now instead of a 2-second internal cooldown, it's a 0.3-second internal cooldown, which is basically the same thing as not having a cooldown. Anyways, I wanted to show off a trial of Fervor run I did post-patch and do some commentary over it, and just talk about the build and why I think it's really strong. Here I'm only ever going to use my grenades and my hive launcher. I'm only using the launcher because I have an anointment on it that gives me 50% cryo damage after my action skill ends on the next 2 magazines, and because I never run out of ammo, I'm able to keep that extra 50% damage for the whole run, which is why you saw me get in my mech and then immediately get out of it at the start of the run. That was to give me an extra 50% cryo damage, and so long as I never reload or run out of ammo in my current magazine twice, then it's not going to remove the buff. So with the current patch and the Means of Destruction change, you're able to maintain ammo in your hive very easily. Although you want to make sure that you're maintaining over 1 ammo in the hive just to make sure that you're maintaining your anointment buff if you are running it. Again, this is specifically for my anointment that I'm running. And I think that's probably the best anointment for the build, especially now that you're not going to run out of ammo nearly as easily with the Means of Destruction change. And since the rare spawn event's been going on, I've been farming Tarantella, hoping to get the right hive. And I think I've gotten a pretty good one so far. It's just a radiation damage hive with the cryo anointment. And I'll mouse over my gear at the end of this in case you guys want to see it. But I cover most of it in my build video. The only real change I've made in this video is that I'm running a elemental projector deathless. The elemental projector is the one where you get 183% elemental damage whenever you're affected by that element. So you can see during this video I'm throwing grenades at my feet. This is proccing both incendiary and radiation on me, which are the 2 main elements I'm using here, because my grenades are radiation, and then whenever I deal splash damage, I have a chance to deal incendiary damage. So I'm getting a lot of incendiary procs from my grenades as well as my hive. Although running the elemental projector is kind of dangerous because the self damage is pretty substantial, and the dot plus the hive explosions, if you're near the hive, when it explodes after it shot all its projectiles out, it can kill you, and I think I die a couple times during this. Not die, but go down in second wind. It's really the only way you can die with Moze. The enemies killing you when you have like 50,000 shield is just not going to happen. And I do want to talk about positioning your hive properly because its projectiles are kind of wonky. They only have a small radius that they cover, so like maybe the size of this underground area right here, and they will hit obstacles. So you want to make sure you're putting your hive projectile in a place where it's open enough so that they can seek out targets and not get blocked by different obstacles. I also try to position my hive in a place where a spawn might happen because the explosion from the hive detonating after all the projectiles have left, like I mentioned earlier, is pretty significant and can hurt enemies a lot. But as you can see with neutral modifiers, this build just shreds through this trial. And since there's not really an endgame currently in Borderlands 3, I would consider this trial the endgameiest thing you can do because it's got Children of the Vault enemies with Anointeds, which are the tankiest enemies in the game and also the most annoying with the Anointed Militants. And I think that if you're trying to put a benchmark for a build, the Trial of Fervor is the best currently in the game. It's the most difficult activity, and it also times you so you can kind of figure out how fast or how good the build is depending on the time. Not that that's necessarily the best benchmark because slower and safer builds can be good too. Moze just happens to be good at safety and good at damage. Although this build is kind of lackluster on the boss DPS, not that it's bad, it's just not, one-shot territory. And I am planning to release a Moze boss killer build probably in the next couple days with the method that avoids using crit swapping, because I think crit swapping is kind of a lame way to get boss DPS. Not that I have anything against it personally, it just seems kind of divorced from what the builds are supposed to do, You're just using Unforgiven to get an extra 300% crit damage on a weapon that you shouldn't have anyways. An elemental projector is kind of the same thing where you're getting a huge amount of damage by setting yourself on fire or something. I'll have the option to do that with my build, but it will be effective without it. I've tested it multiple times, it seems pretty good. Pretty, simple, and you don't really have to worry about any mayhem modifiers. You'll notice I got my auto bear when I started this boss, and that's just because I wanted to ensure that I had my buff on my hive. That way I got the extra cryo damage, which is good against the armor. And since I don't have any corrosive damage on this build currently, it's just a good way to deal with the armor. But as you can see, she died pretty easily. It's not a huge amount of effort. I didn't really comment too much on my gameplay here because I'm just throwing grenades and shooting my hive. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. The build's super strong. If you want to see an in-depth guide, I do have that on the channel, so just check that out. I'll put a link below. Unfortunately, the loot in Trials is just not good. It's a tough activity, but the loot is pretty crap. I mean, Slaughter Shaft is the only activity besides bossing that really gives you good legendaries for your time spent. You know, I don't know, it's just a flaw with the game in general. Here I really didn't get any drops. Plus, if you leave the Anointeds and you don't break them as soon as you kill them, they're going to fall apart before you get back to them. So it's just, you're going to lose all the loot there as well, which sucks. Anyways, guys, I hope this is a useful example on how powerful Moze can be. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like and make sure to sub for future content. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hope you're all having a good one, and I'll see you later.